2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn dope into DFS pros.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is your DFS Army Daily Dispatch brought to you by DFSArmy.com. And I am your solo host today, BoomersDaddy. And we're going to tackle a nice little 9-game slate today. It is going to be a fun little afternoon and evening for us. Got a lot of high-scoring games. Got one that's kind of a snooze fest. And then got a lot of value opening up even currently as we speak. So got a lot to go through and go over here. We're going to go break it down game by game. I like to do this when I do it solo because I can touch on some situations that, normally as far as like from a game theory standpoint that we're not able to really touch on with me and Bear because we like to both talk a lot. So Bear should be back hopefully on Wednesday. If not, then he will be back on Friday. Pod schedule this week is going to be today, Wednesday, and of course on Friday. Wednesday and Friday is going to be all hands on deck. We've got a 13 game and a 14 game schedule, sandwiching the Thanksgiving holiday. So it's going to be a lot of fun and it's going to be a lot of work. So let's have fun with this 9-game schedule today, and then let's make some money and get prepped for the Christmas holidays. So first game that we're going to talk about here is the Charlotte Hornets and the Boston Celtics. Boston is the road team carrying a 3-point favorite spread into Charlotte. Total is 218. And the first thing that I want to talk about here is Kemba Walker. Now, Kemba actually is a very, very good play. He went completely bananas against Philly the other night. Scored 60 real life points and scored about 73 fantasy points. So that should let you kind of know a little bit about how he kind of does. It's a lot of scoring, raw points, and not a lot of the peripheral stats that we usually tend to look for. It did go into overtime. But when a guy scores 60 real life points, and I've been saying this about Kemba all season. Yes, he's a very, very good point guard, but he's a scoring point guard, which is fine. He's actually, risen his ceiling from years past because of the fact that he's handling more of the scoring duties, and he's shooting very, very well. I think this is a Kemba that we're going to continue to see going forward, and Kemba at home is always in play. However, there are a couple things that are working against him in this matchup today. One, he's probably going to see a lot of Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown. These are two very, very good defenders, and they're going to pester the heck out of him. It's not something that's going to come easily. Now, does that mean that Kemba can't go off? No, absolutely not. But I'm limiting him to GPPs for tonight's matchup. One, because his price kind of reflected him going off, and he played 45 minutes 2 nights ago. So maybe he's a little tired in the legs. I'm willing to take that shot in tournaments, but I'm not willing to even come close to him in cash games. So I do like the ping pong factor with him and Kyrie. Kyrie looks healthy. Kyrie is very, very, very aggressive right now, and he's one of the best ball handlers in the NBA. This is going to be a fun game to watch because, in my opinion, Boston, they're starting to get healthier. Gordon Hayward's minutes restriction is out, so they have to they have to really get him going in order for Boston to get what he wants or to get to where they want to be. So I like the pairing of Kemba and Kyrie. Other matchups I'm looking forward to in this is Al Horford. Obviously, Charlotte is not very good at rebounding. The combination of Cody Zeller and Marvin Williams is not going to scare me off of Al Horford here. And I think this is one of those spots where I'm going to be attacking with Al Horford. He's cheap enough that if you want to put him in your cash games, I think you can. It's a little bit harder on FanDuel just because of the fact that, he's more of, he limits you from getting guys like Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, stuff like that, just because of the position eligibility. But he's definitely a good play today. I'm probably not going to go to Jason Tatum tonight. If I'm going to go to one of the two young guys, it's going to be Jaylen Brown. And I probably will have a little bit of Gordon Hayward as well. I think Gordon Hayward's going to see a lot of Nicholas Batum. And that's not a guy I usually tend to pick on. But he's cheap still. He should be about $1,500 more than he is, especially on FanDuel. And I am not shy about continuing to load up on Gordon Hayward without a minutes restriction. We saw him kind of have a pretty good game the other night against Philly. Against Utah or Toronto. Sorry. A lot of that had to do with the fact that he was out on the court. That game did go into overtime, but he was out on the court. And then predictably so against Utah, he kind of came back down to earth. That's kind of holding his price a little bit. He's still getting his legs out from under him, but I don't have a problem with a day's rest going back to Gordon Hayward here. So another guy I'm kind of torn about is Jeremy Lamb. He's shown that he has the ability to be more involved in this offense, and he's playing around 28 to 32 minutes a game. And he's going to be a guy that I'm going to have a sprinkle or two of in tournaments. He's been extremely consistent the last week or so, and he's had a lot of time to kind of perfect his game, and he's working well with Kemba at the shooting guard position. So I don't mind going to him in tournaments, but the $6,200 price tag on FanDuel is a little limited. Let's see here. What is he on DraftKings? He's $5,100 on DraftKings, so I would probably have more exposure to him over there than I will on FanDuel. So let's go on to the next game here. Philly and Phoenix. 11.5 point spread for the 76ers. I'm still kind of torn on what to do here with Ben Simmons. His price went up just because he played 39 minutes at an overtime game and almost hit 60. Just barely hit 50. But I don't think that I'm going to go there in today's matchup. If I'm going anywhere, it's going to be Joel Embiid and it's going to be Jimmy Butler for the Sixers. Mike Muscala's popping right now. We'll have to see what kind of news comes out and how that kind of affects the rest of the afternoon. The reason that Muscala's kind of popping is because Wilson Chandler's still on a minutes restriction. So if we get word that Chandler is going to have a higher restriction, then the Mike Muscala love's probably going to drop a little bit. Devin Booker here should see a lot of JJ Redick. It's not bad, but it's not great. I actually like Devin Booker here in this matchup because he's going to be, pretty much the main primary ball handler. In tournaments, I like pairing him up with DeAndre Ayton. I think Ayton's probably going to be about an $8,000 to $8,200 player on FanDuel by the time all is said and done. So I like the fact of him trying to test his ceiling with a discounted price right now. JJ is another guy I'm going to have in tournaments. Obviously there's not a bad matchup on this Philly team as far as ADVP wise. So, having some exposure to all of these guys outside of Ben Simmons is probably where I'm going to go today. As far as the Phoenix Suns, Trevor Ariza's $4,500. I don't mind it. He's going to play a ton of minutes. It's more of a cash gameplay for me if I need to save some money, but it's not something that I'm going to be going to a lot in tournaments here. So let's move on to Detroit and Cleveland. Detroit's the home team, got an 11-point spread or a 10-point spread here. It's really kind of hard to not love Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin. I don't mind it pairing them up together. I don't like paying that $10K price tag for Drummond, but I can get behind it, I guess, a little bit. He's 9,700 on DraftKings, so I'd probably prefer him there, where Blake Griffin is 10-1 on DK, and I would prefer him over on FanDuel. So if you want to get weird as far as a tournament pairing on either site, really, then you can do that with both Blake and Drummond in the same lineup, but I'm probably not going to do that today. I do like Larry Nance. The combo of Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond is never something I shy away from. I'm not really going to Tristan Thompson here, though. I don't know. I just don't like paying Tristan Thompson, and I really don't like playing him at 6,500. If you want to go there, then probably going to go there on FanDuel at 5,500, or sorry, DraftKings at 5,500. So, Colin Sexton. Now, he's kind of a weird little point guard here. I loved him coming out of Alabama. I loved him as far as a point guard is concerned. He looks like he's actually starting to turn the corner a little bit and learn what the NBA game's all about. He's going to play a crap ton of minutes, 35, 34, and that's a lot for a rookie. But, he's very, very scoring dependent. He doesn't give you a lot of assists. He doesn't give you a lot of rebounds or steals or anything like that. So he's a tournament play only for me because his floor is so low, because if his shot's not falling, then he's not going to hit value. That's kind of where I am on that. When you score 24 points, real life points, and only get me 26.6 FanDuel points, then, that's not enough, especially at 6K now where you're at. So he's going to be limited to tournaments only for me, but I will have some Jordan Clarkson exposure just in case Colin Sexton's shot is not falling. Then Jordan Clarkson is going to be that secondary ball handler. It's a tournament thing again. It's these guys obviously can't be in the same lineup, and it's going to depend on whose shot's falling. If Sexton's hot, then Jordan Clarkson isn't really going to do a lot most of the time. But if Clarkson is good to go and his shot is falling, very rarely do they both kind of go off. But I'm going to take the cheaper of the two on each site. Most of the time it's going to be Jordan Clarkson. But I don't mind calling Sexton here either at the point guard position if that's, where you seem like you want to go. So let's go to Indiana and Utah. Victor Oladipo is doubtful. If he were to be out, then we're looking at a Tyreek Evans game where he becomes about as close to a lock as possible. This will also bump my interest in Darren Collison and Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis is $6,800. He's pushing that ceiling up there, but it's without Victor Oladipo taking a lot of that usage, I really, really do like this here. I'm not worried about the defense of Utah because they haven't been playing good defense, especially on the road. Their defense usually kind of plays into more at when they're in Utah. So I'll be looking a lot at Donovan Mitchell here. Derek Favors, Jay Crowder, they're all kind of in play. I really do like Rudy Gobert if you want to get off some of the chalkier centers on FanDuel, but he is he does not have a good ADVP matchup, and it's actually kind of shocking how good the Indiana Pacers have been against opposing centers this season so far. I think that Rudy Gobert is kind of the exception to the rule just because of his length. He's going to give you some block shots. He's going to give you a lot of rebounds. And, you know, he kind of went off against Boston. He didn't have as many blocks as I thought, but he just came 1 rebound shy of a double-double, had some assists, had 12 points. I want to see him being more aggressive, and I think against Miles Turner, he could actually do that. So not shying away from that at all. Atlanta and the Clippers. The Clippers are 8-point favorites, 231 total. This is a huge total. It's the highest total on the slate, and there's a lot of plays that I really, really like out of this game. So let's start with the visiting Clippers here. Tobias Harris, 8K. Absolutely love him tonight. Danilo Gallinari, 6,500. Probably my favorite play out of this game. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is my favorite point guard out of this game. I'm not touching Lou Williams at 6,800. And I'm not touching Montrezl Harrell at 7,800. Those two guys have got a bigger boost than what I would have wanted going into Atlanta and having this high total. I think they do fine, but I don't think they get you what you need in order to have the profit potential in tournaments. If you want to punt here at the point guard position with Patrick Beverley, I don't mind it. He's going to be suckered on Trae Young and Jeremy Lin all game. So obviously, you know, being on those 2 point guards, he can definitely get some steals, and he's going to handle the ball a little bit as well. So really, really don't mind that at all. So moving on to the Hawks here. John Collins is still about 20 minutes. So as long as he's at that 20 minutes, I'm not really on him. Dwayne Dedmon and Alex Len. I like Dwayne Dedmon more. I think his game kind of plays more to this game, but it's not something that I really love because of the fact that they're on the center position on FanDuel, but I would be willing to do that on DK. Jeremy Lin, I'm not touching. Alex Poitras is out. I've got a lot of Kent Bazemore right now in my initial builds, and some DeAndre Bembry as well. I'm not playing Trae Young tonight. I think that Patrick Beverley going against these, you know, high top round draft picks and stuff, he always kind of takes it as a personal challenge in order to make sure that he shuts them down. And I just don't think Young's game is to that level yet. So probably not going there at 7,000. Let's move on to the New Orleans Pelicans and San Antonio Spurs. Pelicans are 7.5 point favorites. This total is 222. We have to watch out for Rudy Gay. He is questionable now. LaMarcus Aldridge, absolutely love. DeMar DeRozan, absolutely love. They're going to be part of my GPP core, and I'm going to have them in a ton of lineups throughout. For the New Orleans Pelicans, Anthony Davis, he's not cheap, but he does have one of the higher ceilings on the slate. So you can fade him if you want to, but just know what you're fading. You're fading 80-point upside. With Alfred Payton out, Drew Holiday is going to be the main primary point guard. He's 9,500 on FanDuel, and he is a whopping... Oh, come on. He's a whopping 8,700 on DraftKings. I'm probably not going there tonight. I don't mind it, but I don't see a lot of profit in this play tonight. And there's just better options that I like in later games for cheaper. The one guy I do really like for the for the New Orleans Pelicans tonight is Julius Randle. He's 7,300. He's going to get about 26 to 28 minutes. And as long as he stays out of foul trouble against LaMarcus Aldridge, he's going to be playing a lot of that 4-5 combo role, and he's going to run around like a little chicken with his head cut off and create a bunch of opportunities. There's going to be a bunch of opportunities for rebounds, block shots, and steals as well. So I really do like both of those. One guy that I'm kind of torn on for the Pelicans is Etuan Moore. He's going to play the minutes, but I'm skeptical on him just because of the price increase. With the price increase on FanDuel to 5,300, I really don't know if I can make him a huge part of my core. I like him. I like his ceiling. I like what he can do, but he's probably not going to make it into a lot of lineups on FanDuel. I'm probably going to kind of steer more towards DK in that aspect, where I get bonuses for the 3-point bonus there as well. So Memphis and Dallas. Let's just kind of call it like it is. This game is ugly. I don't have a lot of interest in this game. I actually don't have any interest in this game. 202 total. I can go get everything I need or get out of this game at the same ownership, if not lower, with a higher total and better stats in other games. So just going to kind of probably fade that game altogether, just because, I mean, it's not worth me trying to figure it out. It's really, really going to be a slow-paced game. So Milwaukee and Denver. Milwaukee's a 5.5 point favorite here. These two teams actually just met last week, I believe. And if we go to, let's talk about Giannis here for a second. Played 36 minutes, hit 50 against them. They were in a Sherry Ma game that day. If you don't know what Sherry Ma is, then she's a sleep and rest expert that has done a lot of work on the rest of players and very predictably predicted or has been able to predict losses over the last couple years with going into these games. And she got another one right last night with Golden State going into San Antonio. They had an 8.5 Ma score, and they actually, as we all know, did lose. So Giannis Antetokounmpo, 11.5. I like him as a straight pivot off of AD. I think he's going to be a little bit higher owned than AD, but I'm not really worried about it. Nikola Jokic. Jokic actually had a really, really good game against them. Not a really good game. Had a kind of slightly downgrade of a game against them the other night. Probably not going to go there. His price is right. If you want to take a shot in GPPs, then I don't mind it, but probably not going to go there. Chris Middleton, man, it's hard to really like anybody that's going to see a lot of Gary Harris, and I think he does. This kind of ended up being more of a Eric Bledsoe type game last game. And it's probably where it's going to end up going as well. Brook Lopez had a really good game that game as well. Hit, I think it was 6 or 7 3-point shots. And it's going to be a lot of the same going into this again as well. So Monty Morris is a guy that I'm kind of looking at here. He's kind of a cheat code on FanDuel where he's a shooting guard. He had a really good game against Milwaukee. He's going to kind of light up. He's like me and Bear have talked about. He's the one true point guard on this team, whereas Jamal Murray's more of a 2 guard, and they're kind of starting to play like that a little bit more. I don't mind Jamal Murray, but his price tag has kind of dipped a little bit, but it hasn't dipped enough for my tasting here. Paul Millsap, obviously, he's in play under 6K on FanDuel. Had almost 50 FanDuel points the last time that these two guys met. And then Gary Harris, probably going to see a lot of Middleton here. Probably going to be used a little bit more for defense. the guy that I'm loading up on for the Denver Nuggets is obviously going to be Paul Millsap, but I don't mind, Monty Morris, Gary Harris, and Nikola Jokic in tournaments as well. So for the Bucks, it's going to be, like I said, Giannis, Eric Bledsoe, and then some Brook Lopez, probably more on DK than anywhere else. So the hammer game of the night, the Sacramento Kings and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City's 2.5-point favorites. This total is a 221. This kind of brings out that kind of strategy. If you want to, I'll talk about it here in just a second, but let's go over this game here real quick. Sorry. Kind of going back and forth and scatterbrained here. Paul George, Dennis Schroeder with Russell Westbrook, not with the team. They're very, 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 very good plays. Steven Adams is as well. Willie Cauley-Stein is not going to be able to handle him. De'Aaron Fox is somebody I can't really get a hold of right now. I have him in my initial player pool, but I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to like it. The combo of Nemanja Bjelica and Marvin Bagley, I'm a little skeptical on. The reason is because there is a report out that Vlade Divac, who's the GM and the president of the Sacramento Kings, is kind of upset with Dave Yeager for not playing Bagley more, not playing the young guys more, and especially in crunch time. We've seen this kind of happen before with Yeager. We've seen this happen before with Kings coaches, where the Kings want to develop some of these younger guys, and the coach wants to win. So it's a fine line. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle it. I've got to do a little bit more digging into this. I want to see what Dave Yeager says about it, but as of right now, I'm probably not going to touch either one of the two, just because I'm not sure how that situation is going to play out. I'm going to have to go back and watch and do a little bit more research on that, and I have not been able to get to it yet. That would include the same for Bogdanovic as well. I want to lean towards the young guys, but the fact that Bjelica is 4,700 and is still going to play 25 minutes, that has me a little bit leaning that way, but I'm not really sure. Alex Abrinas is questionable. Terrence Ferguson is out. If Alex Abrinas is out, then we can fire up Diallo again. I really do like him. Buddy Hield is also in play as well. And then Jeremy Grant, still 5,400. Probably a lot of people aren't going to play him. He's going to play 30 minutes. I love this matchup for Jeremy Grant as well. Okay, so kind of the little strategy that I was talking about is basically taking your later games and include that Atlanta Clippers game in there, and make your tournament lineups out of these games only. You'll get guys in there that aren't going to be higher owned, because people are going to, flock to the Kembas. They're going to flock to the Kyries and stuff like that. But a lot of times when we talk about this, these later slate games, since they play at such a faster pace, they're going to outscore main slate lineups. We see this all the time, where a guy will throw in lineups in the after hours or the express slates, and they outscore main slate lineups. Like, there's times where you see winning GPPs out of just the later slate games. If you want to go just Milwaukee and Denver and Sac and Oklahoma City, then you can. If you want to throw New Orleans and San Antonio in there as well, I like the idea of throwing in Atlanta and the Clippers, New Orleans and San Antonio, Milwaukee and Denver, and Sac and Oklahoma City. Those are the 4 games I'm going to be targeting the most in my tournaments. For cash games, obviously, they're all in play. I'm not touching that Memphis-Dallas game if I can help it. So that's going to do it for us today, guys. Short, quick, to the point. Hopefully, Bear will be back with us Wednesday. If not, then Friday for sure. For myself, for the rest of the DFS Army, we gone. Peace out.